Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great day. So, let's talk today about super PACs and democracy dollars. Many of you all probably have heard that Andrew Yang seems to be in favor with a new super PAC out there called the Math PAC. And we're here on the side of the organization that has put together the Math PAC, and we're going to take a look at it today. But as some of us may have discovered, not many people are happy with the decision of Andrew Yang to be favorable to this super PAC, right? To some degree. And I guess first we should define what super PACs are. So, super PACs are basically these independent political actions where people who want to endorse a candidate, they go out and they raise funds for this candidate. Now, it is important to understand that the actions they take is totally independent of the candidate's campaign and that they cannot interfere, right? It's against the rules for them to interfere with one another. Now, the only difference between a super PAC and a PAC is a PAC is you can raise a finite amount of funds, limited funds. There's a certain cutoff of funds, whereas a super PAC is there is no limit. It is an unlimited amount. So why are people in such an uproar about this kind of thing? Well, you have to kind of look into the policies of Andrew Yang, things like the democracy dollars. The democracy dollars probably one of Andrew Yang's best policies. Talks about taking money out of politics. Now, think for a second how crazy it is to have money in politics to where you have to have candidates run around, beg for money, half the time they're on the campaign trail, instead of focusing on the policies that they're going to implement when they're in the White House, right? They gotta basically run around begging people for money. And then, basically kind of have this situation where they're kind of beholden to donors to some degree, right? This dark money, right? And it's just a very negative way to deal with politics. So a lot of Andrew's campaign has been about, let's get rid of that stuff, right? So, the problem a lot of people are having is on one end, they're going, well, yeah, Andrew's saying let's get rid of these dollars out of politics, and he believes in this as part of his policy, but he looks like he's favorable to super PACs, right? So is he giving us double talk here? So let's break that all down. Let's talk about that. So I think first we're going to take a logical approach to this. Then we're going to take a kind of ethical approach to it. So let's look at the logical approach to this. Logical approach is first the committees that do this, the independent organizations that create these super PACs. Let's keep in mind that they're independent actions, right? Meaning that the campaign doesn't put them together. They cannot coordinate with them. So, there's not much you can do if somebody wants to create a super PAC. Now, you can basically distance yourself from the super PAC. You can speak against the super PAC. You can say that that is not something that you endorse or would like to see happen, and you can do that as a candidate. But from a logical standpoint, is that going to be helpful to the Andrew Yang campaign? Let's see. So campaigns cost a lot of money. Andrew Yang has fought his way up, clawing step by step, bit by bit, to raise the necessary funds it's going to take to be in order to win this election, win this campaign. We're talking billions of dollars here, possibly. A lot of money, great deal of money. And grassroots, where it's worked up until now, it hits a point or reaches a point where you go, is this going to be feasible? How much money are we going to be able to raise? A lot of our policy is to protect and aid the downtrodden, the left behind, people who have very little to none. and up against very wealthy people who don't want to see these people succeed. We have to, I think, kind of be realistic about that and say, is it likely that we're going to be able to through grassroots with the other candidates out there? Remember, you got Bernie Sanders who raising money, and he's kind of grassroots. Is it going to be realistic that we're going to be able to make it to that point, get Andrew Yang all the funds and give them to the White House? Maybe, but it's taking a risk, right? It's taking a risk, and it may happen, or it might be hard to get there. So that's the logical approach. Why maybe it's in Andrew's best interest to take the super PAC money. And so the ethics goes back to some of the things I discussed earlier, like who are these people? What is their agenda? Why are they putting it together? They could be white supremacists. They could be, they could be anybody, right? They could be, people who, they could be the Illuminati. Maybe they want to control the world, right? Maybe they're going to get us all connected through Andrew Yang and take over the world or something crazy like that. Whatever the case may be, this is the concern with Super PAC. So here's the mission of the MAV Super PAC. Let's read a little bit about it, and we can see from their own words what they're saying their mission is. So the MAV PAC is a super PAC dedicated to ensuring that Andrew Yang is elected the next president of the United States. We believe that this freedom dividend, a universal basic income, is exactly the kind of policy that can lift millions into the middle class, giving American families a much needed safety net and the homeless much needed support. As the American economy changes, we need a president who understands these changes and can revolutionize how our country functions. So, basically, it sounds pretty much like Andrew Yang's vision, right? So far, so good. Is it authentic? Maybe we'll never know the answer to that. Sounds pretty good so far. But at this point in time, there's nothing to really lead us to believe that there is some type of nefarious agenda or something like that, or that these are bad people and that they're anything that they say they are, right? We just don't have that information. But what we do know is a lot of money being raised in favor of Andrew Yang and not against only helps Andrew Yang, because remember, super PACs are not just about raising money to help a candidate. They could just as easily raise a super PAC to harm a candidate, right? To speak out against a candidate. So I think we should be glad that the first experience we have with super PACs is actually, as far as we can tell, sharing the vision of Andrew Yang, right? At the end of the day, these politics, we got money, we got a political system that requires all this money in politics. It's ridiculous, right? But remember, if Andrew Yang wins, his policy is democracy dollars. So Andrew Yang's administration will be the first and only administration to finally, in the history of this country, get rid of money out of politics to the point where we're getting these democracy dollars to be able to fairly choose our candidate and take all of this donor, serve the donor, beholden to the donor, sponsorship, bribery, some would use a word as strong as bribery, which may very well be the case, or we can very well look at it that way. Take all those things out of politics and have a common sense system for once in our bloody lives. So that's where we're at with that, guys. I also just want to say that I'm going to leave a link in the description about our own Universal Basic Income project. And I want to say that even though, for many of you all who've really support the grassroots only movement of Andrew Yang, and you've donated, and maybe you want to donate a little bit more, you're against super PACs, but maybe you just don't have the money, right, to donate more. Go ahead, join our project, Bitcoin MYK. You can get our, which is basically a cryptocurrency that you can basically sell for Bitcoin. You can then sell for cash, fiat currency. I may have made a very honest mistake. I thought earlier I saw that the Andrew Yang campaign did accept Bitcoin. I could have sworn that I did see that. And this could have been very early in the campaign, or maybe it's the case that it doesn't anymore. But if it is an error, I apologize for that. But I will say this, that you can still get our token and you can still cash it out for cash. Still donate that cash to the Andrew Yang campaign if it, is the case that he doesn't take Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum anymore. I thought I read on the website they once did. Maybe they don't anymore. Maybe, something about the campaign itself is something that they just don't want to deal with the Bitcoin, or maybe there are some kind of rules. I have no idea. Maybe some of you all can clear it up for me, but if he doesn't take it, we know that he has a cryptocurrency policy that is clear. We know that he has been in several meetings with cryptocurrency conferences. And so he's definitely pro cryptocurrency. So that's just another way to get you all to be able to make some donations to the campaign. If you're just short on cash, give it a try. We'll leave a link in the description. But that's all I want to say in this video. If you like content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.